You liked that picture you posted on Instagram today, didn't you? Or better yet, you probably liked that Facebook status that you posted today, right? You know, checking in with family and friends. I have, even though social media has become a huge part of my life, I'm not knocking that at all. But what I would say, like to persuade you today is, not all social media is good. Now, I'm not here today to knock the situation about social media, saying social media is bad, but by simply here saying to you that social media has its pros and cons. And I'm just here to persuade you to see my point of view on the situation. So today, I will talk about, usually the main things, the positive effects, the negative effects of social media, what you can do to protect yourself. But also, at this given time, I'm here to explain myself and what I think about social media and what social media has affected to me. So what I would like to start off with is the positive effects of social media. Now, thinking of social media, it has its ups and downs, like I said before. But in the positive effect, I got this, information off of webtrends.com, and I want to define the word social media because, usually when you think about social media, people have their own persona about it. Usually people think of social media as their way to getting out. Some people use social media as to say things that they don't have the courage to say to themselves. But what I think of social media was the definition that I found off of webtrends.com, which is one of my sources. And what it said is social media is a form of communication in which you get yourself out there. So I was thinking to myself, okay, well, if I think of this communication, then obviously publicity has to be established in it as well. Because usually when you see different kinds of rappers, singers, all of that, where they most of them get their breakout from? YouTube. What is YouTube? A form of social media, social network, getting yourself out there. So, with that being said, publicity has its own ways of working yourself out. Also, it helps you stay, in contact with family and friends because, when you want to, you may not be able to see your family right then and there. And they're there to, to keep up with them, if you will. But at the same time, I know you're probably wondering, where in the world is he going with this now? Now we're about to start up the negative effects. Yeah, I kind of hate to put y'all front street like that, but that's just how it is. Anyway, now I'm here to persuade you about the negative effects of social media. There's always a downside to every situation, any given situation, but it is my job to try to persuade you to see it in my opinion. So here we go. The negative effects of social media. Usually when you are thinking about social media, you always think about the latest trends, the latest topics, everything else. But when it comes to actually figuring out how this affects other people, you really need to think about there's really no social media, aspects of this. So, one thing in particular, when you're on social media, you're putting yourself out there for everybody in the world to see. Everybody in the world. Anybody can look you up, anybody can find your information because you're putting yourself out there for them. So, with that being said, also when you think about social media, you think about loss of privacy, lack of communication. You're always putting your life through social media. You're not really putting yourself out there to actually try to what's the word I'm looking for? To try to better yourself because you're usually hiding behind electronics to get your point across. And then I also looked this up. It was a quote on how it was this journal article rather that I found on ExtraHost.com, and it was just saying how people are dealing with the negative effects of social media. One in particular is cyberbullying. That's the bad effect of social media. Cyberbullying is the leading causes of people with suicide, depression, lack of confidence in themselves, always having to look over their shoulder because you're wondering if the person is laughing at you. All of that. That is one of the main things of cyberbullying that it affects me. And the reason why it really affects me is because I was a victim of cyberbullying because I had to deal with my sexuality throughout my years. People thought that they knew about me, everything that they saw, everything that they heard, they went with it, didn't care how I felt about the situation, didn't care if feelings were hurt about it. None of that. So, when I come to this conclusion, I come to say that cyberbullying is one of the worst things that you could ever imagine to put on yourself or anybody. Now that I'm coming to the conclusion of my speech, I would like to talk about what can you do to protect yourself. What I persuade you to do is don't put something out there that you will regret later. Everything comes back to haunt you, whether to try to get a laugh from somebody, to try to potentially hurt somebody. You have to be ready in any given situation. And rule number 2, discretion is a must. You have kids to think about. You have kids, you're thinking about having kids. How would you feel like if they was to get on social media and see you doing some most ungodly things? I know I don't want my daughter or my son to see me in that type of way. So what I persuade you to do is be mindful of what you do. Take care of yourself. And always remember that someone is watching. This is Christopher Murray. Thank you so much for being a perfect audience. And thank you, and have a good night.